Hello, I'm Dana Levenberg, member of the Assembly for the 95th Assembly District of New York. Welcome to my podcast series, Building Healthy Communities. My mission as a legislator is to build healthy communities in every sense of the word. Environmentally healthy, economically healthy, physically and mentally healthy, all through the lens of equity. In this podcast series, I talk with the leaders, advocates, and others who are helping to build healthy communities here in AD 95 and beyond, and share information and resources for local residents, news that you can use. Public libraries have become much more than places to check out books. In this episode, I speak with two local library directors, Yvonne Cech of the John C. Hart Memorial Library in Yorktown and Jesse Bourdon of the Croton Free Library, to discuss the breadth of the resources and services that their libraries offer. And I can absolutely say for sure, since I spend a lot of time in their libraries, that they really go way above and beyond. The Croton Free Library serves as a vital community hub, providing a wide range of resources and services to residents of all ages. It offers a rich collection of books, magazines, and digital media, along with access to computers and the internet. The library hosts various programs and events, including story times for children, book clubs for adults, and educational workshops. Additionally, it provides spaces for studying, meeting, and socializing, fostering a sense of community and encouraging lifelong learning. The library's commitment to accessibility and inclusivity ensures that everyone in the community can benefit from its offerings. The John C. Hart Memorial Library has a long and rich history as a center of learning in Yorktown. Its mission is to serve the town of Yorktown as a place for intellectual, personal, and cultural enrichment. In addition to the circulating collection of books, audiobooks, magazines, and ebooks, the library is also part of the Westchester Library System, which provides access to material and sources outside of the Hart's collection, as is Croton, I believe, as far as I know. Yes? Okay, cool.
Yep.
So library directors, tell us a little bit more about what you have to offer and your respective missions for both of your libraries. And we're going to start with Yvonne, if you don't mind. And thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Dana, for inviting us to your podcast today. I also want to thank you for all of your support for libraries, not only with the funding, but also that you show up to all of our events. And that really shows your commitment to supporting libraries and for advocating for us in Albany as well. So
Well, that's because they're so much fun, Yvonne. They're so much fun. How could I avoid them? I wouldn't miss them.
So we do really appreciate it, and it's clear that you are a big supporter of libraries. So in addition to what you read about our mission, libraries are really we're about public service, and we serve every single person in our community. It doesn't matter their age, it doesn't matter their income level, their education level. Public libraries are one of the only places that I know of that you can walk into the building without having any requirement to pay for any of the services at all. And you can come in and spend the day. You can come in and borrow material. You can use our public computers. It doesn't matter whether or not you can afford it. It doesn't matter because it's all free. And public libraries often refer to ourselves as the great equalizers. And in our library, as in most libraries, we focus on programs and services and resources that changes all the time, depending on what our community needs. We're sort of a reflection of our community at any given time.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask Jesse, I just want to mention, Yvonne, I'm hearing a little tiny bit of feedback when you're talking. I don't know if there's any other computer that's on in your space or anything like that, but just hearing like a kind of like an echo of you. I don't know, maybe what we should do is just each of us mute in between when we're not speaking, and maybe that'll help. So I'm going to do that now. Jesse, please talk to us a little bit more about Croton Free Library and what you guys have to offer.
Well, first, nice on getting our mission correct. That was almost verbatim. So you kind of stole some of my answer already. Now, well, as kind of picking up what Yvonne said, like many libraries, we follow the Library Bill of Rights, and it's pretty much, in short, we're providing free and open access to information to everyone. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what our job is here for. More specifically, For Croton, libraries are a reflection of the community that they are in. So Croton is a very tightly knit community, so we do our best to coordinate with the other local organizations and services around. I almost think of when people say it takes a village, that really is on display here. We kind of work with everyone just for the greater good of the residents, our patrons. So, I myself, even in my time as director, I pride myself on the relationship I have with the superintendent of schools and also the village manager, the mayor, and the village employees and services. And the fact that we can all text each other, check in with each other, be on the same list when we talk about cooling centers and stuff like that. We know each other by name. We're able to work together for that, and I think that's a very important thing for the residents, for the patrons around, and for like libraries as a whole to be able to offer that service.
Absolutely. And see, I muted myself and then I forgot to unmute, of course. So that's great, Jesse. And, I know we're recording this at a time when it's quite warm. And thanks for reminding us that oftentimes libraries are just a great respite from the elements in general. So that is such a good thing for people to know and think about when you might not have the ability to keep yourself cool or warm to the extent that you need or want. Oftentimes libraries can really help out, not to mention all the other things that you could do while you were there, like, put on a little puppet show. Yvonne, I think I did that when I was there last time. Anyhow, I'm going to go back to you, Jesse, just to talk a little bit more about the history of the Croton Free Library and maybe a little bit about how you think libraries are evolving to meet the changing needs of your patrons.
Well, spoiler alert, libraries are constantly evolving, and that is going to always be the case, has always been. But going back to our history, so our library was first established officially in 1937, but that was after over a decade of just the Croton Harmon Community Book Club going around, helping facilitate books being exchanged among the community. So it just started as a group of volunteers. And I think it wasn't until 1937 where it took three different local groups, thinking maybe the Boy Scouts was one of them too, where together they actually created the official Croton Free Library. But for 25 years, they were in an old kindergarten classroom in our municipal building. That's what they were operating on. The entire collection, was made up of donations from the community. Cut to 1965, we actually finally got our own place at 171 Cleveland Drive, which is where we are now. It's important to note, because some people get confused, the Croton Free Library, among several libraries in the Westchester system, is an association library, and you'll sometimes hear municipal versus association and stuff like that. It's important to know the difference with an association library is it's independent of your local municipality. They do their own vote. We do our own vote. And we're a separate tax line item. So I sometimes joke with our patrons. Sometimes I'm like, if you like what we're doing, you vote for us and not for the other people. But at the same time, if you like what your village is doing, without what we're doing, you can also make your voice known. So it allows a little independence for us to operate, which is both, helpful in certain situations, sometimes not helpful in others. For Croton, in terms of moving forward, the ever-evolving library, as you want to call it, it's staying on top of community needs and kind of working on that challenge of it always evolving what the community wants. We've seen a rise in digital material being available, but the physical medium is still going strong, and we have to build both collections as things change and as people are going after both. One of the things that's very difficult about that is when our staff then has to be educated on using the technology that accesses all this stuff as well. So it's not just saying, oh, are you going digital or physical? Just like how we used to have to learn how to find the books physically. Now, how to access the stuff digitally is a whole nother realm that we have to also teach our staff about. It also goes, we're introducing technology to people too. 10 years ago, the big rise was 3D printers in every library. That was on libraries to kind of facilitate, because what other place is going to let you walk in, use a 3D printer, get hands-on use of it? We're not seeing as much use on that, but we are seeing that beyond the books type of view happening in libraries. So now, for us, one of the ways we're evolving into the library that we are now is we have a puzzle swap, a seed library, a Spice of the Month club that you come and pick up stuff. these are numbers that we include and find ways to include in our annual report, because now they're part of our collection and the things we facilitate to everyone. Something that I didn't think we would be at this point is we currently have 2 weekly sessions just on Mahjong and 1 on Canasta just at our library now, which is something when, looking into programs, this was completely based on the evolving change on what our patrons want and what we need. So we continue to just listen, and that's pretty much the best way to be any library that stays relevant or, in need of your community, is being able to listen to your patrons, listen to what they want. And it's going to change with every library and every community. So what works for us is not going to work for even the library in the town over.
And Jesse, thanks so much for mentioning the puzzle swap, because we are big puzzlers here in my district office in Ossining. We puzzle over lunch, and we talk strategy and all sorts of things and policy. And we just took out a puzzle recently from Hen Hud Library because we had gotten through our paid puzzles, and now it was time for us to actually get some free puzzles. So I appreciate that. And I'm going to toss to Yvonne, but right before I do that, I want to say that I was also proud to sponsor legislation to make it easier for association libraries and free libraries to actually get their budgets on the ballot, because it was very time consuming for you to collect all the signatures that you needed to, and we've reduced the numbers of signatures that you needed to get on the ballot, and I'm very proud to have been able to help out with that, because we know how important libraries are, and we shouldn't have to go through hurdles just to get your budget on the ballot for people to vote on. Yvonne, tell us about John C. Hart Library and its ever evolving how how you're helping out your patrons and staying relevant.
Well, to start off with, a little bit of we have a somewhat similar history to the Croton Free Library in that we have just passed our 100-year mark. It happened during the pandemic, so it kind of went unnoticed, but the library it didn't exist before 1920. And in 1916, the last descendant of John C. Hart passed away and left the building to the town expressly for the purpose of becoming a library. The town had no library up until that point. And so then there was a 4-year time period where the townspeople tried to figure out how they would go about funding a library and who would run it. And we are a municipal library. Jesse's library is an association library. And the difference is primarily in how we're funded and who we report to. So our funding is part of our town budget. We're a line item in the town's budget. And but it's still important that, just like Jesse communicates with all the town leaders in his town, it's still important, no matter what type of library you are, to communicate with all of your town leaders, because the library is one of the only facilities that's open to the public. So people do come here and use the facilities all day long. So it's good to coordinate when schools are closing and other things are happening, that we know that we're going to get additional people coming here. We've had a couple of expansions over the years. We had 2 expansions, again, based on need. The more people use the library, the bigger we need to make our spaces. And in terms of evolving to meet changing needs, Jesse covered a lot of the kind of specialty programs that we do, seed libraries and things like that. We also have really jumped into the whole digital realm with streaming services of all kinds. We provide, in the past it was obviously traditional books, and now we're at about 65% traditional books, 35% digital items in terms of what we lend and what we circulate. So we've had to, as Jesse said, get up to speed on all of the different technology so that we can then offer it and provide support to the public. So, and one of the things that's also important to note in terms of what kinds of libraries there are, all libraries in the state of New York are chartered under the Department of Education, and we report to the Board of Regents for the state of New York. So when Jesse mentioned the annual report, we are obligated to report all of the statistics for usage of our building and usage of our material. And that means attendance for programs, and as well as how many people check out a regular book and how many people download a streaming movie or e-audiobook or some of our streaming music services. So we have to count all of those things and report it annually to the state in order to maintain our charter. So that is pretty important, and a big part of what we try and do is get all of those numbers and get them up to the state. We provide all kinds of online services. You can use our library from our website without ever having to step foot in the building by using all of our using our online catalog, checking out ebooks, using our Libby app you can download on your phone. And we do everything from providing a subscription like Ancestry.com to people who want to do family history research, to tutor.com, to foreign language programs. You can learn foreign languages. Again, you can do most of this from your home by having a library card. So that's a lot of the ways that we evolve to meet the needs of the community.
And I think both of you probably already answered my next question, which is, are you still circulating hard copies of books, or are people moving to digital? You definitely touched on that in terms of what the percentages are. I think, Yvonne, that you said more people are checking out digitally now. Is that what you 65?
Well, we're still at about 65% of our total population is still checking out traditional books.
Okay,
So,
I reversed it. Yeah.
but it's increasing all the time. 35% are checking out digital material, and we're seeing the numbers increase exponentially each year for our people who are switching to digital resources. Right now, we circulate over still about 250,000 regular traditional books every year.
Wow.
And about 125,000 digital items every year.
Wow. Jesse, do you have a number for Croton as well? I mean, I know you guys are smaller, serve a smaller population, but in terms of how many people you served, or how many people are checking out materials, and how that looks from, hard copies to digital?
It's definitely not the numbers of John C. Hart there, but that's a larger patron base. So, we have out of, I think, about 8,500 village residents in Croton. We have about 5,000 of them are card holders. And so in 2023, we circulated about 98,000 physical books and about 38,000 digital. So while I can't do the math in my head, I'm guessing that's going to get near the 35 to 40% of that too. Yeah. The interesting part is that each library kind of funds those collections differently. And I won't get into the weeds with how shared resources go, because every library works to try to help the other library, but also help there. It's a constant juggling act to help all library residents and your own resident users and stuff. But we all put a different percentage of our funding towards our digital versus physical collections, and there's no right answer right now on how to find it. Even the directors themselves right now are in discussions of what one do you use, how much do you devote to this and that. But for the most part, we're seeing the same kind of percentage breakdown. And I can say on our end, I forget if Yvonne said, but we don't devote as much of our budget to digital versus physical the way that John C. Hart does. But what I can say is for all the libraries, we do, sometimes people think we just buy and hope for the best, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes about, the numbers we're looking at, the reports that the people who do acquisitions are looking at every month to see, oh, this one's popular, I'm going to get this. Oh, this one's really popular, get too. We know that stuff usually the second those holds are placed, we're running the reports to see it. So we're really filling the needs more than people even realize, when sometimes they wonder why suddenly they got a book so quickly. There's a reason behind all that. So that's kind of how it happens on our end in terms of numbers. So it's fairly similar, other than, much more happening there.
Absolutely. And so can you talk a little bit more about the services and the resources that the library offers, like inside your buildings? I know that, I know people go there to do job searches, to work. A lot of times people are using it for Wi-Fi access. Kids are obviously coming in for after school homework help. I probably stole all your thunder, but what I know you have so much going on and so many programs. Can you talk a little bit about how people are using the physical spaces of the libraries when they do actually set foot inside?
So I'm going to speak a little bit. I already mentioned, we just talked about the puzzle swap. The seed library is a common one. We have one where you come and take one. Spice of the month is one that certain libraries have been starting out now, where you come once a month. There's a new spice to try out there. but ones that, a lot of libraries have. We're not just unique in that. The museum passes are pretty common, almost everyone in Westchester right now. A lot of them work within their patrons, so you have to use your own library stuff to get them because it's with their funding. It's important to note that one. Hotspots are very common for people to use on trips or when they're out of power and they need internet at home. And laptops or other types of tablets and devices is ones that we have here and very common in other libraries. The ones that in-house service that we've had for the past couple of years now is also free New York Times access, which means if you're connected to our Wi-Fi, you go to the New York Times. Other than having to have the account logged in, you're not going to be prompted to pay. You can use it while in the library at all times. You have free access to the New York Times, even the archive. And you can also do it from home using a redemption code, so you can get 24 hours online access from home.
Nice.
And then I have to thank you specifically for this from a recent grant that Gwen here wrote. We are starting our Library of Things in the coming months, and we're currently working on the different things we're going to be circulating soon. So hopefully by the end of the year, you'll be able to come in and take out sewing machines, binoculars, I think car code scanners, cake pans, really anything but a book type things that we have is available for people to check out. And we have a very long list, so I don't know what definitely made the cut, but I think those ones definitely made the cut. But we're going to be constantly, kind of piggybacking off the concept that we had in years past with 3D printers, giving people access to something that they might not otherwise get themselves, but get to experience or get to use. We're kind of, moving that into more everyday objects because, it's wasteful to be buying certain things to use one when a library can buy one and then everyone uses it throughout the year. I know the people making them won't like that. We got that concept, but it's all about shared services and shared resources.
All I can say is, have I got a cake pan for you? I just got a cake pan in my basement that is like, it's like a commercial quality cake pan that's like really thick and really big. And I must have bought it at a garage sale. It's a professional quality cake pan. And I'm like, I'm never going to use this thing. I'm putting it out to the garage sale. Instead, I'm bringing it to the Croton Free Library for you guys to
There
check
you
out.
go. We'll reach out when we're taking them so we can have it added to it.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Yvonne, how about you?
Well, I love the Library of Things because it is a green alternative, right?
Absolutely.
It helps keep things out of the waste stream, so that is always great. And all of the libraries that have Libraries of Things offer something a little bit different. We're starting to lend lawn games like cornhole and things like that. So it's, that kind of thing where you might have one party during the summer and you don't want to go buy it, but you can borrow it from the library. So
Mulkey, that's the new game you need to learn. Mulkey. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
okay, we'll have to look into that.
Look at that.
We do everything from obviously offer public computers for people to use, but also passport services. So you can come and get a passport here at the library. We proctor exams. There's a lot of remote school situations where they have to find an authorized place to get an exam proctored. We do that for a lot of college students. We have obviously space for tutoring, which most libraries have. Most libraries, and I know Jesse's got a beautiful space for this, we have an art exhibit space for local artists, which is really wonderful to be able to get some exposure for your local artists. And we do everything from, displaying pottery to quilts to doll collections to gorgeous paintings. We have magnification equipment to provide assistance for vision impaired people. We are the sole owners of microfilm of a couple of defunct newspapers in the area. So if you're doing specific local research, we're the only place to go for that. We have things like Teen Tech Help, where if you need to know how to use the latest app on your phone or you're having trouble with your laptop, who knows better how to help you with that than a teen? So we have teens who want to come and volunteer. So we set them up a couple days a week in the afternoons, and we get people coming in to use their services all the time, and it's for free. Just come and ask a question, and they'll help you.
Fantastic. So we have a few minutes left, and I know that I had a couple more questions from you. So I'm just going to ask if you guys can just sort of keep it a little short so that we can get the last question. And that is, that I know that you have an array of community outreach programs designed to get people to come to the library. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of that. Or you've already kind of touched on many of them, but if there are any others that you wanted to highlight specifically, and I think Yvonne and then Jesse, and then we'll wrap it up with how people can help support the libraries as well. Okay?
Okay, had to unmute my microphone. Sure, we've got programs for demystifying Medicare. So if people want to, you're signing up for Medicare, you have a lot of questions. We've got specialists here that come and help you with that. We've got free tax help for seniors during tax season. We and all libraries partner with school systems to provide literacy support throughout the summer. And you know that when students don't read during the summer, they enter the school year at a deficit because reading is a skill that needs practicing. So we provide support for summer reading programs, and we provide incentives and exciting programs to keep kids on track. And Dana, you attended our summer reading kickoff program where we had over 2,000 people here in 2 hours. So that was
unbelievable. It was a fantastic event, and you certainly made it look like you were the center of the Yorktown community, I have to say.
And we do a haunted house program for teens in October. Our teens have already started working on it, and they will work on it for the next couple of months, and they will present a haunted house to the public. We usually get 12 to 1,500 people come to that event as well.
And Jesse, how about you? And I know that I spent a lot of time in that wonderful community room with that fantastic piano and lots of other musical performances, as well as other speakers and things like that. So what you got?
I mean, I could discuss so much about the ones that everyone knows. You visit our website. We do the programs for kids in the morning and all that stuff. Try to be open. I can say the most important thing is trying to have a variety of programs. That's what we offer. So we have, for our younger patrons, our teen patrons, our adult patrons to have regular programming for them. I mentioned Mahjong earlier. We have a bereavement group that meets here every Tuesday. It's just you have to listen to what the community needs and what they're going for. What I can say, what's for me, one of the things that's brought people in the door is less about the events that we sponsor, but our kind of room use and being open to other organizations. So one of the ones we're really proud of is that the New York Blood Center used to do blood drives at the Village of Crone Municipal Building, and through the pandemic and availability, they asked to use our place one time. Since they've used it, it's now a monthly thing, and it's co-sponsored by the library. And they've never seen such high volumes being donated because whether it's be a comfortable place, it's a neutral space. It's important that people view libraries as a neutral space. So therefore, if you actually want to bring new users in or introduce your library, it's not so much the programs you're offering, it's what you can offer others to use your library for. So,
Absolutely.
We have the Lions Club, the Girl Scouts, Village and the school both use ours for a lot of their meetings and stuff like that, to the point of our 3 program rooms. All of them are usually booked every evening now, even during the summer. And I think that's what I've always seen as what really brings in the new faces and brings in the people that are like, oh, I didn't even know my local library had that. So in terms of community engagement, well, I'm not saying just like let anyone use your room, because we know that's also a problem in libraries, but it really just has to do with the fact of being accommodating, work outside your comfort zone. Even if it doesn't seem like it would be a library program, those are sometimes the ones that bring in people that have never been there before, and they end up coming back. So that's my big push on bringing people in the big events you can have. That's really
fantastic. And Jesse, just like in one sentence, what's the best way for people to help support their library, Croton Free Library?
Donating to the library. Our annual appeal is November and December. You can go to our website and you will see a big donate button there. That's the best way anyone can do it. Or just use your local library anywhere. Just support any library is all I ask.
Fantastic. Yvonne, you want to end with that as well? We'll wrap it up.
Really the same thing. You can also donate and just go to our website, and you can become a friend of the library and donate through the friends. You can also volunteer to help us, to help our friends with their book sale, and show up at our events and download the Libby app and use your library.
That's amazing. You guys are both fantastic, and you're doing such an amazing job in your libraries and throughout the 95th Assembly District. I know I appreciate it. And of course, my phone is ringing. I don't know why, but thank you. That's all for this episode of Building Healthy Communities. Until next time, everybody, be safe and healthy. And don't forget to read, read, read. Thanks, everyone.